There's so many women that have gone before me and have taken to the sky.
Do you think there is a need for women in space?
Well, is there a need for men in space?
All these women have been my role models and my inspiration, and I couldn't be here today without them.
Özlem Türeci is the woman behind a leading COVID-19 vaccine.
Women bring an energy to rap that did not exist before.
And the Grammy goes to Cardi B.
Who knows how many others could have been the first if they'd had the chance to try.
Pattern Beauty is launching.
I'm the first person in my family to start a business.
Let's talk about some glass ceilings being shattered.
Jugo Tabai summited heights no woman before her had reached.
We can show girls that anything is possible. It doesn't matter what they look like or where they come from. They can change the world.
Wow, I have to say, what an inspiring start to our day today. Welcome our guests from all over the continent and the press. My name is Ife Osaga Ondondo, and I'm legal counsel for Sub-Saharan Africa at Google. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. We don't take it for granted, and we are grateful that you have taken the time to celebrate International Women's Day with us today. Now, International Women's Day is a global day where we celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. It's also a day that marks a call to action for accelerating efforts towards gender equality. This is something we take very, very seriously at Google, which is why we are committed to providing pathways for prosperity and women in Africa, especially now when the world is in the midst of a pandemic. So we have a very exciting lineup today that we hope will be worth your time. On our agenda, we have several speeches, performance, as well as a very, very exciting announcement about how we at Google are contributing towards gender equality in Africa. We also have a very exciting panel discussion with amazing people doing amazing things in the continent. Now, before we go into our program, I just want to do a bit of housekeeping. First of all, our hashtag of the day is #WomenRiseUp. Please feel free to share any of your thoughts, any of your learnings on your social handles using this hashtag #WomenRiseUp. We'll also be using the chat box in the live stream for comments. Please put in your comments and your questions throughout the program, but we also want to request you to be mindful and respectful of others as you put in your comments in the chat box. We'll also be having a question and answer at the end, where we'll take questions from everybody, especially members of the press. Now, when you are asking your question, we request you to kindly start with your name and the name of the organization that you represent before going into your question. This live stream is being recorded and will be available to everybody and to members of the press after the event is over. Now, without much further ado, I want us to kick into the event by starting with an extraordinary performance by the Dream Catchers from Nigeria. I know you'll enjoy these performances as I have before, and even as we continue to go into their performance this morning or this afternoon. Thank you, and welcome to the Dream Catchers group.
Myself.
Watching that performance makes me want to dance, but I'm sure there'll be time for that later. At this point, I'd like to welcome my colleague, Mitch Atagana, who is the head of Women at Google for Sub-Saharan Africa. Welcome, Mitch, with our opening speech.
Thank you so much, Ife. And indeed, what a delightful performance. I don't know how to dance really well. I wish I did, but those kids make me want to learn how to dance. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to our 2021 International Women's Day celebration. Usually, we'll be celebrating with you in person at one of our events across our 3 offices, but because of COVID, unfortunately, we couldn't do that this year. However, we still want to thank you for joining us virtually. I already saw some of the chat on YouTube, and I know you guys are already ready and digging your heels into the event today. I would like to make a special welcome to our partners, especially members of the press, our esteemed guests, and a very special welcome to our Excellency, Dr. Adejoke Olorukwe Adifulire, Senior Special Assistant to the President of Nigeria on Sustainable Development Goals. My name is Misha Atagana, as Ife already said to you guys. I look after communications for Google in South Africa, but I also lead what we call Women at Google in Sub-Saharan Africa. Women at Google is our platform and our initiative to support women both within Google, but also in our external communities. Google has been investing in specific programs across Africa to support women in skills, from students to job seekers and entrepreneurs who are starting their own businesses, as you will see today. We have a variety of programs that empower women in leadership, in digital literacy, workplace readiness, and, as I already said, entrepreneurship. Some of these programs are our Women Tech Maker program, which is a program that provides visibility, community, and resources for women in technology. Our Women Will initiatives is a community that supports women beyond just technology, giving them access to workshops and a community to help them for workplace readiness, as well as starting their own business. Our I'm Remarkable program, which is something quite close to my own heart, is a global movement to empower women and underrepresented groups to celebrate their achievements in the workplace and beyond. Over the last 3 years, we have given $2 million in grant funding through our philanthropic arm, google.org, to innovative projects that create economic opportunities for women. Over the last couple of years, we launched more than 20 Women Will communities across Sub-Saharan Africa in countries like South Africa, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, and Ghana. We have trained more than 20,000 women through peer-to-peer learning engagement, community-led events, and networking to access opportunities wherever they may lie. We also have 142 ambassadors in 118 Women Tech Maker chapters across Sub-Saharan Africa who drive diversity, inclusion through technical events and campaigns within their local communities. Today, the announcement we're going to make is just another way in which we have been putting our foot on the continent and supporting women across whatever they may do. We hope that you will enjoy the announcement today and the event will prove fruitful and insightful for you. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Jola Aderemi Makinde, our head of brand and reputation in Sub-Saharan Africa, to tell you a little bit more about this exciting announcement that we have today. Over to you, Jola.
Thank you so much, Mish. Happy International Women's Day, everyone. Equity is at the core of what we do at Google, be it in our products or in our programs. We believe in helping women make the most of technology to build skills, get inspired, and connect with each other through training, events, and advocacy. In 2017, we made a pledge to train 10 million Africans on digital skills. To date, we have trained over 5 million people, and what makes us most proud is that 48% of these are women. It's not just about the numbers trained, but also the impact. 60% of the people trained have recorded a direct impact on finding jobs, growing their careers, and growing their businesses. In 2018, we hosted the first Google.org Impact Challenge in Sub-Saharan Africa, which saw 36 organizations across the continent receive $6 million in grants. Fast forward to 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic, which we're all still currently experiencing, Millions of women have lost jobs and livelihood. Due to the pandemic, it is estimated that in 2021, 47 million women and girls will be pushed into extreme poverty, bringing the total to 435 million. According to the research from McKinsey and Company, women's jobs are 1.8 times more vulnerable to the current crisis than men's jobs. And while women make up 39% of the global employment, they account for 54% of overall job losses. Also, 20 million girls are at risk of not returning to school globally. Small, medium businesses have also been hard hit in this period. 70% of African businesses are SMEs in the informal sector, with women making up 90% of said sector. We have set up a digital hub providing free tools and resources for businesses and individuals, and will be helping 500,000 small medium businesses get online or improve their digital presence through Google business profiles and digital skills training. Once people can find them on Google Search and Google Maps, these businesses will be able to connect with millions of customers every month. To support women-led businesses specifically, we have launched a women-led attribute on Google Search and Maps in English-speaking regions. People will be able to search queries, for example, woman-led restaurant around me. Job cuts, income losses, lack of education are not simply side effects of the pandemic. They will prevent economic strides for women and girls for many years to come. We are committed to further supporting women in economic recovery. As economies and societies rebuild, we need bold new ideas that will propel us forward, and we cannot do it alone. Today, we are excited to launch a global Google.org Impact Challenge for women and girls. This Google.org Impact Challenge will provide $25 million in overall grants to nonprofits and social enterprises, creating pathways to prosperity for women and girls, empowering them to reach their full potential and thrive. How will this work? Starting today, we're putting out an open call for organizations around the world to apply for the challenge. Organizations will have until Friday, the 9th of April at 11:59 p.m. GMT to submit their applications at g.co/women and girls challenge. This link will pop up on the YouTube chat window now so you can navigate. Once the deadline for application closes, our expert panel will review the submissions and select the grantees of the challenge, which will be announced later in September this year. Grantees are eligible to receive funding ranging from $300,000 to $2 million, and selected organizations will also receive capacity building support and mentoring from Googlers. We invite organizations across Africa working to establish safer and stronger livelihood for women and girls to apply and be a part of this. And with that, I'd like to hand over to our able MC, Ife.
Jola, thanks so much for that exciting announcement. Now, I would like to welcome us to our next performance by Fena Gitu, who is an extraordinary performer here in Kenya, very, very well renowned. And after Fena's performance, we would like to then welcome Cassandra with our panel, as I said previously, of amazing people doing amazing things in Africa. Now, do not forget, when you are sharing information or your observations or your thoughts about this event on your social handles, please use the hashtag #WomenRiseUp. We also want to encourage you to keep asking your questions on the chat box beside the live stream. We encourage you to participate and share with us and enjoy this event, the rest of this event together. Okay, let us move on to this wonderful performance by Fena.
I hope they know that we are coming. I know they see us coming. Coming for everything they said we couldn't have. To be everything they said we couldn't be. From days of our ancestors until eternity. Their wounds wounds, we heal. The grand ways they paved, they gave us the will to take up the land and till. And we won't stop until they feel our presence in the spaces that we feel. Trail the paths they blazed, oh yes, we will. We will be the Wangares, the Lupitas, the El Samajimbos, the Ookas, the Gitus, and all the incredible women that we know. Our mothers, grandmothers, sisters, widows, all moving in love and in strength to teach the young ones the power in unity, in sisterhood, to water their flowers and to see them bloom.
Happy International Women's Day. We celebrate you. To all the women doing their thing. Let's go. I say piki piki maua ua hibiti na ua piki piki maua ua. Hey, Edith Kimani didn't know one day she would grow to be a known worldwide presenter. Victoria Kimani didn't know that she would kill the show, run Lagos before Nairobi felt her. Yo, take a look at Lupita Nyong'o. A better life for now is full of pretenders. It's fena gitu na you know, it's phenomenal. Toka mbali na nimbali nina enda. You can bet your money on me, baby, I'm the real deal. And they can never slow me down, I'm a big deal, yeah. My mama told me, sit down, be humble, keep it classy, keep it real. She doing her thing though, she's a real go-getter. Anything you do, she do it better. Hey, and anything she wants, she will get it. Unapologetic, she doing her thing though. Unstoppable, I'm phenomenal. She doing her thing though. She a queen though. Hey, look, I wanna meet Buddha so I can shake her hand, tell her she a queen. She made something of herself. Uki catch feelings, you account shillings. Stop billing while she in a private jet. Get down on your knees and pray, yeah. And then do your best. They don't know your tears, what you say. Speak now or forever hold your breath. Hey, now you can bet your money on me, baby, I'm the real deal. They can never slow me down, I'm a big deal, yeah. My mama told me, sit down, be humble, keep it classy like Victoria Ruba, dear. She doing her thing though, she's a real go-getter. Anything you do, she do it better. I think though, anything she wants, she will get it. Unapologetic, doing her thing though, unstoppable. Phenomena, hey, she a queen though. Hey, I wanna big up all the queens in the building. All the queens doing their thing. I see you, baby. Let's go. I say piki maua hibiti na ua piki maua hibiti na ua piki maua hibiti na ua piki maua hey. You can bet your money on me, baby, I'm the real deal. And they can never slow me down, I'm a big deal, yeah. My mama told me, sit down, be humble, keep it classy, keep it real. She doing her thing though.
Wow.
That was phenomenal. I am Cassandra, and I lead our Android partnership engagements in some markets across the continent. Thank you so much to all our presenters and speakers so far. We will now pivot to our panel, which is centered around the theme, equity in a COVID-19 world, driving and leading a more gender-balanced world. It is noteworthy that IWD aligns with the pandemic's anniversary this year. As were highlighted in the stats shared by Jola, the pandemic is disproportionately impacting women worldwide, and it's making the disparity between men and women in the workplace even more pronounced, despite the decades of work to achieve equality. Today, we have a distinguished panel of experts who will shed some light on what can be done at an individual, organizational, country, and systemic level to close this gap by sharing their unique experiences to catalyze change and drive equity. I'd like to introduce our panel. With us today, we have Her Excellency Dr. Adejoke Orolope Adefulere, who is a Senior Special Assistant to the Nigerian President on SDGs. We have Puti Mahenele Dabengwa, CEO of NASPERS. We have Winifred Emmanuel Nwanya, Founder and Creative Director of Zelicious Foods. And we have Dr. Alistair Mokwena, who's a Country Director of Google South Africa. Thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for this conversation. We truly appreciate it. To give a little bit of context, I'll start off with a few pointed questions and then have some more general questions that any panelist can answer should they be so inclined. We will also leave some time for audience Q&A at the end, so please feel free to leave questions for the panelists in the YouTube chat. All right now. So my first question goes to Her Excellency, Dr. Adejoke Orolope Adefulere, who's a Senior Special Assistant to the Nigerian President on SDGs. To give a bit of context for our audience, she's an accomplished Nigerian politician and public servant. She's a former Deputy Governor of Lagos State and a two-time Commissioner of Women's Affairs. She was the first female lawmaker in Lagos State, and as Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, she co-sponsored the Child Rights Law as well as the Domestic Violence Law. Her Excellency, Goal 5 of the SDGs is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. Aspiration 6 of the African Union-led Agenda 2063 is people-driven development with full gender equality. As someone who has been actively championing women's rights in Nigeria and globally for the better part of your career, how far would you say we've come? And if so, can you share one or positive strides or highlights that can serve as beacons, lighten up the road to equity as a destination?
Good morning, distinguished panelists, my colleagues, and I to thank Google for inviting me to this event. I want to also thank Google for partnering with my office 2 years ago to train 400,000 young men and women. We've not taken this for granted, and I would like to thank you sincerely and to also say that we are open for more collaboration and partnership. Let me use this opportunity also to congratulate the women of the world. We are to be celebrated every day, every second, every minute, going by our responsibility, divine responsibility, moral support that we render, and being the mother of the world. Women's Day, recognizing a day in a year is not enough to celebrate the activities of women, and that's also affecting our impact and activities that would change the world. So there's no doubt that COVID-19 pandemic has just seriously to the overall global, regional, and national efforts in achieving gender equality during this decade of action. The decade action started last year, 2020, looking forward for 10 more years to achieve 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. When you look at the framing of the 17 SDG goals, we have that 2 standalone goals are talking about women, and in every goal of the 17, there's no goal that doesn't talk about women. When you go to look at the indicators, targets, and the indicators and the targets of the SDG, individual SDG. So the 2 standalone goals, also with gender equality, Goal 5, and empowerment of women, knowing fully that when you empower a woman, you succeeded in empower the family, the community, and the state at large, going from the home. So then it talks about Goal 10, we're talking about reduce inequalities. Reduce inequality that be fair, equity, that speak to the theme of this year called equity, be fair and be just. So if you are looking at the population of, I'm sure that God that created us is very fair, because when you look at the population of Nigeria, for example, is between 50, 49, 50 of women and men. So we are to complement each other. And of course, in our world, we believe that many women cannot be seen and they cannot be heard. But more women are making a lot of dance, they're making a lot of strides. And of course, we are going to get there. It's a matter of time. We are getting there. And the example of that is what we just see now. The first female vice president of the United States of America. Can you imagine over 200 years of democracy? We are just having a woman now. And of course, our own Ngozi that just came in now. And you see, you cannot just see what women can do is just, it's amazing. You cannot just, there's no barrier. And like I used to say, there's not men can do that women cannot do. It is only what women cannot do that cannot be done by anybody. So all we need to do is to encourage more women, especially the girl child. And all my life, I've dedicated my life to the empowerment of girl child. Whatever I can do to help them of today, to invest in our today for tomorrow. And that's the only thing we can do collectively, individually, as family, as a policy makers, as government, as private sector, individual. When you sow a seed in one girl child today, you see the result in years to come. So we have to not waiting for government alone. Let's come together and invest in this young girl so that they can be like you and me. I can tell you that it's my mother that sent me to school. My father said that I'm going to be a woman and his name will be lost. And first I'm carrying his name now. The whole world knows his name. Imagine if my mother was not empowered at that time, and I can be a positive one now, and I would have died. Something terrible will have happened to me if my mother didn't take up the challenges.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Women should be given opportunity, should be encouraged spiritually, politically, emotionally, and that's why I speak. I also, if I have time, I speak about domestic violence also, which is mitigating against the empowerment and development of women. So all of us as individual, group of family members, leaders of thought, government, and let's work together. And that's in the heart of SDG is partnership. So partnership between me and you, between me and your organization, between me and government or religious organization, let's come together and take this challenge for ourselves and for our future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Her Excellency. Thank you. And that actually leads us into the next question, which is for Putty. To give everyone context on Putty, she is the CEO of NASPERS. She co-founded and served as executive chairperson of her own investment holding company and has served on the boards of blue chip South African companies. She won Business Woman of the Year. The Wall Street Journal listed her as one of the top 50 women to watch, and the list of accomplishments goes on and on. In 2019, she became the first female Black executive to be appointed as South Africa's CEO of NASPERS. Thank you for joining us, Putty. As Her Excellency just pointed out, Her Excellency Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala became the first woman and first African just in the past few weeks to hold the position of Director General of the WTO. And she insisted during a press conference on her confirmation that prior to her confirmation, that whoever is appointed to the position should be chosen based on merit, not gender or race. There is a tension that sometimes arises from affirmative action or BEE. What would you say to individuals or platforms that say that deliberately including underrepresented groups devalues accomplishments?
Sorry, I just realized I was muted. Thank you very much for the question. I think certainly it's a very critical issue that you raise. We know that certainly without a doubt that the gender gap is a real issue. We all know that, and we've all experienced it, and we must all continuously challenge it. We know from several studies that the strength of a team depend on its diversity. And it's also well-known but much ignored truth that one party does not need to be disempowered for the other to be empowered. We know that in diversity, growth, learning, and innovation happens. And what the very accomplished Her Excellency Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said is very important. In all our discussions about gender equality, we should be interrogating our own thinking and even our own stereotyping, both men and women. When I started my internship at the firm that I worked for at the time, it was an investment firm called Fieldstone in New York. I was the only young Black female intern from Africa. And, you know, I was amongst all these Americans, white Americans from Ivy League universities. And therefore, I assumed that I was being judged on this. It was one of those moments when you start to have negative thoughts about your own abilities and begin to doubt yourself for no good reason. It's a default pattern for many of us people. But then I realized it wasn't personal. You know, it was also about the ability to move towards and engage with those people working in that environment. These were people who wanted a job done. And whether they liked me or not was irrelevant. So one big lesson to me was never to assume that because someone is not the same gender as you, or the same color as you, or the same age as you, that they will necessarily treat you the same. My break came from a male mentor at Fieldstone. And, you know, sometimes support comes from the most unlikely places. If you're willing to grasp that opportunity and run with it, great things can happen, as I certainly saw. I worked very hard and ended up, from being an intern, becoming one of the vice presidents in the firm before I decided to leave. And, you know, I believe that we need to be willing to be open, to be close to people who can help us. It doesn't necessarily have to be people who are the same as us, but people who are just willing to provide us with the support that we need. And that is why I'm passionate about mentoring. But I also agree with what Michelle Obama said when she says we have to turn our passion into action. So stop talking about it and start doing it. So mentoring is something we should all be doing, all at the same time. I think that it is not something that you do when you're at a senior level. You do it when you start working. You can start mentoring, because even when you're in university, you can be mentoring young people in high school. It's a reciprocal relationship, and you know, I think reciprocal mentoring is something that is critical. And so this is a way in which we can encourage diversity and also become better leaders. And our strength is not found in fearing strength of others. Our strength is found in our willingness to celebrate it and to act on it.
Thank you so much for that response. And speaking of turning passion into action, Winifred, our next panelist, is the founder and creative director of Zelicious Foods. She's popularly known as the queen of fun and fast cooking. She's a culinary expert, a food content creator, and a businesswoman who has grown her YouTube channel from a few hundred subscribers to almost 400,000, essentially turning her passion into a thriving company. Personally, one of the many reasons why I love working at Google across Africa is the very tangible examples we get to experience firsthand of how the internet and technology are offering great opportunities for job creation and growing businesses. Winifred, as someone who has built an empire which rides on technology, can you shed some light on how, as a female business owner, what initiatives like the Black Voices Fund mean to you? If you can just tell us what that means, what the Black Voices Fund is, that would be great. And what other actors or sectors do you think are key to achieving this vision? And which ones have helped you on your journey? It's a three-pronged question, but I hope you can answer them in one go.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on this panel, and hello to everyone, and happy Women's Day to all of us as well. Answering your question, I lead by staying innovative, staying very innovative and very creative. For me, I believe that technology has created a platform, like a level playing ground for everyone to play on, and it's just a matter of how well you're able to translate your ideas using technology. So I lead in what I do by constantly staying very innovative, innovative in terms of coming up with better ideas, better solutions to profit to those who not just follow me, but to the general public at large. And I also lead by arming myself with the right knowledge and information that always puts me ahead. So without knowledge, without the right information, you can't do anything. And technology has made it very easy for us now. For example, anyone can go on YouTube or Google and just type out something and type out a question and you get the answer to it. And most of the things that I know today, I actually learned by taking advantage of online courses, the platforms like Google and platforms like YouTube as well, to acquire all of the knowledge and information that I have today. So yes, technology has played a vital role, but I also have a vital role to play by acquiring much knowledge and information that puts me ahead in my game, helps me thrive and do my work a whole lot better and effectively. Something else that I do to lead and stay ahead is I also surround myself with other business professionals that actually also help my work a lot easier. So when I first started out, I had just me and my smartphone, and I was able to do what I did. But as I was growing and trying to get myself to the next level in my business, I discovered the importance of arming myself with strong business professionals. For example, a lawyer will guide me in the legal aspect of my business. An accountant, for example, would also help in the financial aspect. And the list goes on and on. Now I have a team of production, like a production team that helps with my production and helps ensure that my ideas are translated into the right way, the best way possible. So yeah, so technology has really helped me with that. I'm able to stay ahead by using all of the benefits that technology provides. The Black Voices Fund was an initiative by Google in 2021 to help 132 of us across the world to help us use our platform to amplify the Black Africa voice. So we want they enabled us through the funds that we received some resources from them. We received funding. We're actually going through intensive training, 3 weeks intensive training on how to use our YouTube platform to leverage on the platform to build our businesses and empower us strongly as Black, as Africans, basically. And then we also have a lot of benefits by just being participants in the Black Voices Funds. And what this means to me personally, this fund came at a time where I needed to get my business to the next and higher level. And to achieve that, one of my main goals was to, for example, improve the quality of my production. The Black Voices Funds came at a time when I really needed the resources that it provided to help me achieve that. And because of that fund, I was able to acquire better production equipment. I was able to get more professionals in terms of my production team to help, like I said, translate the ideas that I had in a better light. I'm also currently working on my very first cookbook. And anyone who has ever written a book knows that apart from your intellectual property, apart from the knowledge that you have in here, you'd also require finances to help ensure that the book gets to a successful finish. And so the Black Funds came at the perfect time when I actually really needed financial support to help see to the completion of my book. And for me, other things that has actually, other factors and other actors and sectors that have also helped me achieve my vision is my faith. I would always give props to my faith. I surround myself with the right support system, with the right group. Like I said earlier, I arm myself with the right professionals who help me achieve the vision that I have. I stay true to my vision. I stay committed to my vision. I stay loyal to my vision. And of course, apart from staying loyal, you also have to put in the work. Like Putti rightfully said about Michelle Obama, we need to turn our passions into action. So doing everything it takes to ensure that you put in the work to get the job done is what I'm about. So being loyal and staying loyal to my vision is one way that I'm also able to achieve all that I do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking that 3-pronged question and putting it all in one very concise response. Thank you. And next, I'd like to turn our focus to Dr. Ali, or Dr. Ali, who is our ally today. Dr. Alistair Mokwena, who's the country director for Google South Africa. To give a bit of context on Dr. Ali, prior to Google, he spent 14 years in various marketing roles at some of the largest blue chip companies, then 8 years running some of South Africa's largest advertising agencies, including being managing director of FCP Johannesburg, MD of Ogilvy Johannesburg, and CEO of Ogilvy South Africa. He serves on a lot of boards and has really impressive qualifications, academic qualifications. He also mentors small businesses, including a number of women-owned businesses. Welcome, Dr. Ali. You're an incredibly accomplished man, but you've been very clear that the women in your life have been the most influential people in your life, i.e. your mom worked her way from being a nurse to a nursing professor. She raised 3 boys into men when she got widowed, and your wife is a competition lawyer with a great career and a superb mother to 2 young kids. How do you balance 2 very high profile and demanding careers and still make time for family in your household? And generally speaking, how can men be better allies in the home and at work?
Thank you so much, Cassandra. Such a privilege to be here speaking on this very important topic. I think the first thing is about self-awareness. You know, if you want to change anything, you need to be aware of it. You need to call it out, right? So I think society has taught us so much learned behavior, religion, culture, you name it, you know. I mean, I'm a Christian, but if I look at Ephesians chapter 5, verses 22, talking about women submitting to men, my wife and I have agreed that in our household it's 50-50 power balance. I'm married to a lawyer. I'm a lawyer myself, and we have a tendency to sit down and negotiate things up front. So I think we need to be intentional about the kind of life and the kind of relationship you want to have. You need to be intentional about the kind of marriage you want to have. So many of us have a default template of marriage, which is our parents, which is what we read in novels and Nelson Boons, in popular culture, TV and movies and so on, right? And we aspire to those things. But what we don't do is sit down and say, I'm an individual, I am getting into a relationship with another individual, and we have different love languages, we have different pictures of success, we have different value systems, and we have different aspirations. I think to be presumptuous is a symbol of privilege. You know, I think we live in a society that has given men so many privileges that it's just so natural. And I think men have to think about that consciously and say, there is something not right about this, you know? Why do we see this gender parity as a difficult thing? Why don't we just have equality? Why don't we stop seeing women as one homogeneous group and see them as unique, special individuals who come from different places and must be treated, you know, in a specific way according to their own expressed needs? So I think it's very important. I think we also need to be intentional about our work relationships, you know. So some people tend to be taskmasters, you know, they just want to get the job done. They don't care much about building or nurturing relationships. Some people tend to be relationship builders. So they actually get work done through nurturing relationships and, you know, forming networks and collaborations. Some people tend to bring their passions and emotions to work and they wear them and they express them. And some of their colleagues can handle emotions, some colleagues can't handle emotions. And why do we equate emotions to weakness? You know, why do we see it as passion because somebody feels strongly about something and not treat them like they're coming from a position of weakness? So I think for us, it's about being practical. It's not about big, lofty statements anymore. It's about, if you want to change society, work on the family unit. If you want to change the family unit, work on the individuals. And the work is very simple. The work is about making conscious choices. Strategy is a set of choices, you know? If you want a particular outcome, make some intentional choices. And I also think that a very, very important thing is to learn the difference between ego and self-esteem. Ego is a very dangerous and destructive thing. It leads to offense. It leads to, you know, power abuse. It leads to, positions of privilege and so on. Whereas self-esteem is something that all of us are born with. We need to nurture it. Self-esteem helps us to see others as equals. And self-esteem also helps us coexist peacefully, where we don't compete with each other, you know, where it doesn't take for someone to be weak for someone to be great or strong. So yeah, in my household, I've got a son and a daughter, and we treat them all equally, and we talk to them, and we have a very democratic dispensation in our home where everybody has an opinion. And then very, very important, we don't allow a superwoman or superman syndrome. My wife cannot do everything and should not try to do everything, because she will be very unhappy and she'll fail. I don't know everything. I can't do everything. If I try that, I will fail. And very, very importantly, leadership is a responsibility that comes with leadership is a privilege that comes with corresponding responsibilities. Leadership is a big job. It's tough. I don't want to lead at all times. I can't. I'm not capable of it. I'm not an expert on all topics, and I should therefore not try and lead. And I think very, very importantly, We have to have a culture of learning where we realize that we constantly have to learn. And, they say those that do not read should not lead. So we should read. There's lots of help out there.
Well, as a mom of two, like one boy, one girl, in a very relatively young marriage, I feel like I have so many nuggets to pull from there. But thank you so much for sharing that. So I have just remind the audience, please feel free to put questions in the YouTube chat. We will share those with our panelists. But I'm going to go through one more round of questions with our panelists. And this question goes to Priti. What deliberate actions need to be taken to provide environments for women to thrive in every industry? And the context around this is you're, an executive at the largest South African company on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and that comes with a huge responsibility. How do you keep yourself accountable? And what deliberate actions at a high level need to be taken to provide environments for women to thrive in the workplace?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the question. I must say at Naspers, people are the heart of our business. We're dedicated to ensuring that our people are the best people that they can be, and that we have a diverse, inclusive learning organization. I think what it is that it's really a focus on driving diversity. It's leadership that champions diversity. You can't expect growth in an environment from the same type of people. We need to be utilizing technology to tap into our diversified culture. Let's use all the people we have to do so. And as the environment is changing, we have to access different perspectives. We acknowledge that, people have different competencies, capabilities, experience, as well as their drive and engagement. And all of these things are key to success. So therefore, there are several requirements that we have in place, but they're not limited to this. But some of them are encouraging diversity in our teams within Naspers and thinking and building inclusive workplaces. Our employment philosophy is founded on promoting equality and preventing unfair discrimination, attracting and retaining high caliber individuals to execute on strategy and build sustainable businesses. Additionally, our human resources policies and procedures address talent attraction, management retention, development, succession planning, all of these things to protect employees from human rights violations. One of the things that I'm busy working on right now actually is on looking at this issue on violence against women and children, which we, unfortunately, South Africa is one of the highest in the world in terms of this continued violence against women and children. And that's an issue that we are busy working on. And I think for all of us here in South Africa specifically, we need to be looking at this issue and dealing with it. And so we have to continue to engage. This is how we keep fighting for the world as it should be, and not settling for the world as it is.
All right, thank you so much. Her Excellency, Priti just talked about domestic violence. And I know when you were given your first response, you touched on it a little bit. From that perspective, and not necessarily, from that perspective alone, what more can be done to try and close the gap, taking domestic violence into consideration, to close the gap between men and women?
Thank you so much. I think on a lighter mode, I need to also give kudos to my brother and to also award him he for she, because he got all the problems facing women and what we need to do as a father of a boy and a girl, and trying to treat them equally. That's the key in going for at the beginning. That's what you need to do. The girl child cannot be treated separately, and the boy child, we are equal. We have to complement each other. Complementing each other as a husband and wife will go a long way. And don't forget that these young people are watching us and they copy what we do. So from their teenage age, they will copy what we do and they will mirror us. And that's exactly what they do in the domestic violence or gender-based violence, or whatever you call it, is very, 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 very gaining more momentum now, especially with COVID-19. We recorded a lot of deaths among women, during the COVID, during lockdown, people in the marriage, in some marriages, you say that just marriage of convenience. Marriage of convenience. So when wife go in the morning, husband go in the morning, but in the situation where you just put the two of them in the house, lock them down, then issue continue to. But when I co-sponsored the, I found out that there are a lot of issues around the marriage of the young people and marriage of older people, that they cannot manage each other and all of that. And so when we have these recurrent issues reported to me when I was in Women Affairs in the early this thing. So I found out that what can we do today? I think that we are down to a law. We can't wait for the normal old criminal code or whatever it is. We have to have a law that will protect both the husband and wife. But in all of that, I have thousands of cases of domestic against women, and I have one for men, women to men, out of all of that. But I found out that the only important thing for co-sponsoring the law is that when you have a woman, and to the extent having domestic violence between of you, having issues, beating each other to the extent that you kill your wife. So what happened to the children? Who mentored the children? Who developed the children? You take another wife, as beautiful as we are. Looking at the 3 of us, 4 of us now, we're not here to come and do another person's business. We are for our own business. We are so selfish. I'm not coming to be a nanny for another woman's children. So it's better for you to manage. Let government come up with a law that will protect both husband and wife, or protect the mother to some extent, because we are the receiving end. So we have the law. Not only that I have the law, I simplify the law, even to the extent that I send the law to all the schools in Lagos State in 2004. 2007, we simplified the law for the young girls in the schools, for them to understand if you want to go into marriage, go to the right marriage. Don't manage. Don't say, oh, because I love him, there are some things we are doing now that I don't like. If you don't like it now during the courtship, don't go into it, because it's going to hurt you. So we have the law, simplified the law, and after the law was passed, signed by the governor, then Governor Ashwaju. So I found out that we still have issues. What are these? Somebody just walked into me and said, it's not enough to do the law now. What will law do when these women, when they don't have where to go? Will they go back to their homes, to their father homes, family houses? When issue comes and child beating on it, they will prefer to stay there and die there. I said no. And that was what informed my first transit home. I built a transit home for women where if there's issue, they will separate them, mentor them, have the one who want to learn a skill, when they mentor the women, counsel her, and then try to do a DR for the husband. The two of them to say, okay, we are coming back now, this is what to do. Then make the man to sign undertaking. So say, I will not raise my hand on my wife again, I will cooperate with her. And listen, your wife is now a government wife, daughter or woman. So if you beat her, you are going to go to jail, as provided by the law. So we try to manage, because how many people can we take to prison? Do have the capacity? Do have the space? So we have to that, and I think we manage all of that and works for us. So when I got to my new office here in Abuja, I try to partner with the Nigeria Bar Association on this domestic violence, and we have a memorandum of understanding that each law firm in Nigeria will dedicate a desk officer for us to do pro bono on domestic violence, rape cases, molestation, and all of that related issues. So it's going to be a pro bono, because some of these people that are the receiving end are poor people. They cannot engage in services of a lawyer. So with that one, because they are poor, they cannot engage in services of a lawyer. Then they have to be compromised. They will compromise them, or saying, okay, 10,000 naira, withdraw your case, or something like that. But if you have a lawyer that will not charge you, will not get anything from you, that will go to court and sit to the end of the case, then perpetrator will think twice before going to the court. So we have understanding now with Nigeria Bar Association all over the country to see rape cases, domestic violence, molestation, abandonment, and if you don't take your child to school, is an offense by child right law. I co-sponsored the child right, I domesticated the child right law also in 2004, and I simplified it. And I also issued yellow card for sensitization and advocacy, as well as red card. Red card is for prosecution. If you don't send your children to school, you are in trouble, because the law provides that every child will have rights to education. So, and of course, yes, we are doing now is also on alternate education for the out of school children. I initiated it, wrote the concept note, and we are working on it because we need to provide more facility for the young people to go into school. So I'm sure that by majority of them are women. They are women. So by next year we'll be able to report back on that. We just have the steering committee inaugurated by Mr. President, and we're working around the clock to make sure that we reduce the barriers in those people that are outside there without going without being in school. We will do that, and of course we are going to also enjoin our people to see how we mentor the child. Not only to go to a school, get them back in school is not enough. Mentoring is the key. Mentoring is key. Whatever we can do, and to adopt or foster young people, especially your their child, this also will go a long way in ensuring that we help our. With education, you know your rights. With education, you are free from poverty, you are free from ignorance, you are free from disease. Nobody can manipulate you. Nobody can take on and do advantage of you. But with poverty, with illiteracy, gives room for a lot of things. And that's why education must be promoted. If you ask me, what should you do with education? It gives me confidence and rights. So we're working around the clock to work with the 36 states. I'm working with the 36 state governors on this. And as I work with the Nigeria Governors Forum, work with 36 state government, working with the MDAs, all the MDAs, especially the Federal Ministry of Education and UNICEF on this. And we're going to make a lot of progress on that. So if we have all of this done, and working with the Ministry of Women Affairs also, now we have the social register now. If you rape a girl, you'll be blackmailed, your picture will be published, your details will be published, and you will not get any patronage, any opportunity, any privilege, because you will be tagged as a rapist. So I think some will be named and shamed. So if all of these are coming, and with other forms of punishment that we can give to those people, they will find a way to stop this thing. They will stop because they know that nobody can take me, I can do what I like. No, you can't do what you like. Love will catch up with you. So I think that if there are other, I want to seek support from my colleagues here. If there's anything you can do to support me in ensuring that we get this thing done, we escalate it, we improve on what we are doing, I am open to partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for laying out all the different things you're doing. And we really hope it lands well and it leads to the impact that we all would like to see. The next question is really for Dr. Ali, and it sort of moves back to the workplace. The data shows that women are far less likely to share their work-life struggles with their colleagues, especially male colleagues, meaning that a lot of the challenges are going unseen. As a country director with a team reporting into you, as a former MD and CEO, as a mentor to women-owned businesses, what are you doing or have you done historically and currently to ensure that you are building an inclusive company or organization or team?
Thanks, Cassandra. As I said before, I tend to be more of a relationship builder. So I, tend to invest in building one-on-one relationships. I have those weekly. And I think it's also important to lay down some sort of ground rules around how you want to interact, right? So some people are comfortable with you asking personal questions around, their well-being, their family, their kids, and how things are going. Some people find it a little bit too personal, sort of too intrusive. So I think you need to check in with people. I think it's very true that people don't really care how much you know until they know how much you care. So showing compassion is such an important thing. I think for me, my whole life I've been raised by strong women. There were males, there were fathers who were great, but the role of women in my family life, I think 50% of my previous bosses or managers were female. So for me, it's not a thing. It's not a thing that I must think about. We are all people. I don't associate authority with one particular gender. So I think I'm quite lucky in that way. Secondly, I think it's very clear that Africa will never prosper if women continue to be subjugated. We need each other. We have a mammoth task of being the tide that lifts all boats. There's massive, massive problems of poverty and strife and war and so on. So we absolutely need each other. So I think for me, people come to work to learn, to achieve their goals, to thrive. And we need to open all doors. I think that we keep talking about the need for servant leadership as though it's some sort of distant concept. To lead means to serve. To lead is not about ruling people. I think sometimes there's a sort of there's like this misperception around if I'm in a position of leadership, it means I have rank, power, and therefore I rule over others and I must be served. It's the other way around. Leaders are there to serve. Leaders are there to enable. Leaders are there to hold up a mirror and say, listen, I think you need to watch out one or two areas if you want to be great. Leaders are there to say, fantastic, you've done a really good job. I think for us, it's important to find successes, big and small from women's side and actually publicize those. We need to make women's successes much more famous. We need to normalize success. And I think we need to take a moment each day just to reflect and say, how are we doing in terms of moving the needle? So, when you go to business school, basically one of the first things you learn is journaling. So journaling and reflecting, So I've learned to just carve out time at the end of each day, just to reflect on the day. How did the day go? Here's the things that I care about, making sure there's diversity and equality in the workplace, making sure that I was fair, making sure that I was honest to people. And if I've done something wrong that requires me to actually go back and apologize, I shouldn't lose that opportunity. So I'd like to encourage people to just kind of reflect and journal. And I think that's how we will see growth and progress. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. So, small little difference a day by each one of us will eventually change the world, I think.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you all. So we have quite a few questions from our audience, as well as the questions that are for everyone. And the first question really is from Rachel, and it says, do you have any simple, practical, everyday actions that you take and have found to be impactful in navigating our cultural beliefs, practices that hinder gender parity, especially at the grassroots level? And anyone can take this one. It's so inclined. Should I repeat the question? What are simple, practical, everyday things you do that you find to be impactful in navigating our cultural beliefs and practices that hinder gender parity, especially at the grassroots level?
I think my brother just said it all, that we have to balance the equation. So I agree with him that we don't need to give unnecessary preference to women. Women must be able to live up to expectation when we want to aspire for office. But unfortunately, what we have found in Africa, especially, is that there's no level playing ground when it comes to this thing. When you want to get a job, you have to have advancement with some men. When you want to contest election, there must be violence so that the women will be excluded from it. Women doesn't like violence. Aside from using money, then they introduce violence to it, and you will be like pacified to say, oh, please just wait, let this man go, or this thing, or manipulate you, or don't. We try to give you another venue for the election, the intra-party election. Before you know it, it's been done, and they give you the result and all. So women tend to be manipulated easily, but if there's a level playing ground, imagine if Okojo competitor are men, what do you think will happen? What do you think will happen in that circumstance? So, that is the normal practice all over the world. But in Africa, it's so high that women can just be saying, okay, wait, it happened to me. It's happened to me 2 times. 2 times, happened to me 2 times. But I just thought that, well, if God say yes, yes, because I believe so much in God, as much as I believe in myself and other. And what they said I would not do, I eventually got it done. Eventually, it's a matter of time. I got it done. I was the deputy governor 2007. Was a lot of manipulation and all that. I just kept quiet, doing my job. I was in the cabinet doing my job. Went for was appointed to the Women Affairs. I'm doing my job. I don't care. Wherever I see myself, I work. And whatever you give to me to do, I'll do. To the best of my ability. Don't worry about me. Just give me the job. Let me just go and sleep. I'll do. And when I finish, you'll have joy in doing it. They came back to call me, begging me to come. And I came back to the deputy governor. I wanted to go to the Senate, done everything. I did everything possible, all of that, and this in 2014, and all of that. They said this thing and all of that, all the manipulation and all that came. By the time I know it, I said, okay, no problem. It's about service. Service cannot be an issue. If you don't want me, I will stay back. Just this thing is, I've never lobbied for anything, and I've never struggled for anything. Just let me be. It's about service. I want to serve. And if you don't want me to serve, no problem. But then I know it. I got a call from the president that some more than 2,000 people nominated me for this and that and that and that. They are looking for me. So, but I think that I might be a lucky one out of many people. But there must be a level playing ground if women must be seen as it. And we must also encourage each other. Thank God that this backbiting thing is becoming thing of the past. We must come together. We come together to be able to fight this cause. Women must be seen and must be heard. We are the best manager in this business of policy. Maybe if we are there at the top, we will do better. Yeah. Because if you can manage these men, and my brother, we can manage them. We can give back to them, nurture them, manage them. Then we can manage you. So I think we should be encouraged. We should be supported spiritually, mentally, and if you have peace of mind, there's nothing we cannot do.
Yeah. Actually, that brings me to the next question, and that is talking about how there's a Ghanaian saying that it's much easier to break a single broomstick than it is to break several sticks. In plain English, in unity lies strength. The IWD theme for the year is "You Choose to Challenge," and it refers to the power of the collective to challenge and undo the barriers of gender inequality. You just touched, on how coming together is essential. So practically speaking, how do you think women can leverage and create communities around them on the road to parity? And how have you personally done that? And
when I was in Lagos, I'm coming to the federal. When I was in Lagos, when I met the women, I came in 2003. So when I met my women, the women of Lagos, they are not well organized. Let me put it that way. So I tried to bring everybody together. So do a lot of counseling, how to manage your home, how to take care of your children, how to have time for your children, because it's important. Good parenting is very good. It's very important in all of these things. Either you are a professional or you're a politician or whatever it is, you must have time for your family, especially your children. That the time that they need you must be available. And the time they use you must be if they need you must be usable and sustainable. If you don't pay time for your children, I'm sorry, you will have to pay dearly for it. So all of that, how you manage your husband, how you manage your husband, depending on how we manage our homes, how we manage your home, determine how we can reduce domestic violence within our family. So all of that, in addition to health check and all of that, I introduce all of that and this and that. And of course, when I finished with the women, the grassroots politician, I started with the women professional. I organized, put together women bankers, women surveying, women architects, women this, women that, women. I didn't know that there are many, women lawyers and all that. We have time to meet with each other. How can we impact? How can we mentor other women? You cannot just be a woman banker and you don't want to mentor the younger generation to be like you. So we put them together in groups, and we are coming together. We are meeting regularly, and it helps a lot of. How can your organization, women bankers, mentor? I just wrote a program yesterday. How we mentor young girls. I was dragged to a foundation yesterday. How we can mentor outside this in those orphan and vulnerable children. How do we empower them? Already, I'm doing my own, but I was dragged to another foundation. How many can I take? How many can each of us take to mentor? So we need to do all of that, because don't forget that some people are orphan and there are some are vulnerable. So we need to come together to start doing them. And the only thing that I think that we can do also is that your home is very important. And when you have a good home, you manage your family. That's the only way you can manage you can be in public office, or you can be a professional, combine your professionalism and your home. The home is very, very key. If you don't have a good home, or you cannot manage your home, you cannot manage anything that you want to do, be it politics or whatever this thing. So women should come together. We are coming together, forming a smaller group, bigger group, and all that to see how we can build this thing. Because it's now done on us that we need to come together. Women succeeding together. We have to come together and work for ourselves. Nobody will do it for us. Nobody will do it for us. Those ones that we think we can do it for us, they are so selfish. They just don't want to. They believe in their word that we cannot be seen. But we can be seen, because we are to complement what they are doing. If we are not to be seen, God will not have created women along with men. They will have then in the garden will have been men all through. But God knew that men cannot stay alone. We need women to complement whatever the man will do. And that's why we are there to complement, to bridge the gap in the home, in our workplace. And so we have to come together to fight for our cause, fight for our rights, support each other. Because these people, the men, they will not allow us if you don't come together to really do the needful. So we are coming together, and I'm working with the Minister for Women Affairs. Unfortunately, we have been deputy governor together at the same time, and that is my big sister, and we work together as deputy governor. So it's not very difficult for us to work together. And working on two of the goals of SDG, we are very close, and we are working together. And she's also passionate about gender equality, and of course, it is very easy for me to work with her. So we are working. It's only when all the things we are doing behind the scene, then very soon we will then unveil what we are doing to the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Just a last question from the audience, and every one of you has touched on mentoring and the importance of mentoring. A question from Louisa is, it's nice to know that the panelists pressed on mentoring, even from the opposite sex. What do you make of the ideas of the growing feminist movements who tend to deviate attention from the real focus? And I'll have Alistair and Winnie touch on this one. Alistair, do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please, Cassandra.
Yeah, so Louisa's question is, it's nice to know that you all stressed on mentoring, even from the opposite sex. What do you make of the ideas of the growing feminist movements who tend to deviate attention from the real focus, which is mentoring?
Okay, so I think there's two predominant mindsets in society. One is avoiding losing, the other one is playing to win. So now avoiding losing means the world is a bad place and you're fighting struggles and you need to arm yourself and just keep fighting and pushing walls, and sometimes you have to be confrontational. Whereas playing to win means you are coming from a place where you realize that the world is full of abundance and you just want to go for success. So I think we need to understand different interactions and say, what are we dealing with here? Are we dealing with a situation where there is so much resistance from men, or social structures and norms are making it impossible for women to actually have a breakthrough? Then we need to have a different approach there. So I think every single person is trying to make a difference. I really think that whether help comes from male sort of allies, or it comes from sort of non-profits, or it comes from people who have decided to actually take on this thing as activists, it doesn't really matter. Every human being is driven by love and fear. So we need to understand how can we use love to help people prosper? How can we address people's fears to actually make them more of enablers as opposed to oppressors? You know, I think it was Puti earlier who said, if men have healthy, self-esteem and they believe that there's enough to go around for all of us, they wouldn't be, sort of in the way of women's success, because they wouldn't see women's success as a negation of their own prosperity or kind of opportunities in life. So I think we need to just understand that every single human being, whether in a position of power or not, is driven by love and fear, and how we deal with that human being has to be, sort of informed by what we understand about them.
Right. Winnie, do you have anything to add to that?
No. I learned quite a lot, a number of things. Nothing to add.
Likewise. I mean, there's so many questions, and I really want to ask all of them, but I'm cognizant that we are at time. Thank you so much to all of you, our panelists, for sharing your experiences, and to you, our guests, for your questions. We truly appreciate all of them. And now I will hand over to Mariam, who's the Director for Android Platform Partnerships Africa, to close us out. Again, thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you.
Wow, what a session. Cassandra said to close us out. I actually don't want to close it, but I guess we have to do it. My sincere gratitude to everyone who's joined us today, both on the stage, on the panel, and our speakers, and everybody who's joined us online as well in this digital world that we live in at the moment. I'd like to thank the government officials, our business leaders, our partners, and of course, all of the friends who've joined us today. We hope you've been able to see from Jola's session the scope and the breadth of the programs that we are dedicating our time to, whereby we're dedicating our efforts to upskilling and supporting women across the continent, for the job seekers, for the women communities, business owners, and to employees just growing their career. We strive to be as inclusive as possible with the impact of all the projects and initiatives we drive. Can I just remind you, please, that the hashtag for today is #WomenRiseUp. Please don't be shy to share your highlights of the event on social media and tag us at Google Africa on Twitter. That's at Google Africa on Twitter. The recording of this event will be also available in a few hours, so you can replay it on the Google Africa channel on YouTube. I'd also like to take a special moment to thank our panelists. What an amazing, distinguished, and highly accomplished panel we had. I'd like to thank our special thank you to the remarkable panelists, Her Excellency Dr. Adejoke, Madam Puti Mahanyele Dabengwa, Winifred Emmanuel Mwanya, Dr. Alistair Mokena. I would also like to thank the amazing entertainers, the dream catchers, our poet, Fena Gitu, Cassandra for moderating this amazing, highly distinguished panel. I'd like to thank our speakers, Jola, Mish, and Ife, who did a fabulous job. I'm sure you all agree. And lastly, to all of the organizers behind the scenes, I think you'll agree that in these times of COVID, it's where we can't get together. It's always quite a difficult way to engage and organize events like this digitally. But what an amazing, amazing job they've all done. We're truly grateful for all that you've done. It's my honor to say thank you for joining us today. And I'd like to close out with just a few things I've heard today, just to remind us of some things we've heard today. One of the things that Puti had said is, one party does not need to be disempowered for another party to be empowered. How powerful is that? Truly, truly, truly powerful. I heard Her Excellency and Dr. Alistair say that these conversations should be ongoing. It's not an annual thing. It should be ongoing on a daily and a monthly basis. That's how we lift up the grassroots. That's how we work to make sure we effect change. So my challenge to everyone and to myself is to rise up and effect that change on a daily basis. We heard from Puti again, it's never too early to start mentoring. We all have a responsibility, so let us mentor. I liked another thing I heard from the panel, which is don't doubt yourself. And I think Winifred was just amazing and sharing how she has been so successful. I'm sure we all have, we doubt ourselves, but don't let it fester. That's what I heard from that. What I would like to say again is for us to rise up, to challenge the status quo. And from the panel, I also heard that you never know when your break is going to come, or where the support is going to come from. It might come from the unlikeliest of places, but we've all got to put in the work. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. Please, take the challenge to rise up, and hashtag do not forget to challenge at all times. Thank you again. Take care and have a great day.